Hey everybody, this is Perch, and a few days ago I did a video of freshcomics.com, I believe. Anyway, it lists the comics that are coming out new, and several of you did not know about that site, so it is a pretty good resource. But the striking thing, the reason why I did the video I did, is to showcase just how many variant covers are in the mix. And you get to this place where Marvel is producing less than 20, well, I say less than 20 like it's a small number, but they're producing less than 20 comics in a given week. But they're actually shipping out and taking orders for over 80 comics because of the variants. And it's, there's also some other things in there. Somebody pointed out, like, hey, this, the comic, they are doing some reprints in there, and there's nothing wrong with that. And some facsimile editions to get, more comics out to the hands, of people who are trying to read up on the story. I mean, there's nothing wrong with some of these things, but the variants have gone to excess. So I got this email, came in just recently. It said, what would happen to the industry without variant covers? It says, Dear Perchington. I love how that's stuck now. Your recent video on Marvel putting out 89 titles in a week left me wondering about the sustainability of this model of business. By the way, I want to point out that a couple of people, most notably from, is it Comics FX? Is that what it is? Or Comics? Anyway, it's one of the bigger kind of news sites. And The Beat both took this channel and me specifically to task for being a big ass liar for saying that Marvel was putting out the volume of variants that they did. And so it's nice when you look at the Fresh Comics site and you just, if you're a retailer, you see this stuff and there it is in black and white. There are the comics right there. This is not some crazy exaggerations, not some angry YouTuber frothing at the mouth. This is like, I love to see somebody actually make a coherent argument for how this is good. But anyway, back to the mail. It says, and notice I have not gotten a retraction from these people, though. Not expecting one. But anyway, your recent video on Marvel putting out 89 titles in a week left me wondering about the sustainability of this model of business. How much do these variant covers prop up the industry? What would happen to the industry if the variant covers disappeared overnight? Can you envision a way of eliminating variants that would involve catastrophe for the comic industry? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So, quite simple, and it's not a cold turkey thing. The industry has got itself addicted to this stuff. What comics needs to do is just slowly but surely start pulling back. They need to not produce 8, 10, 12 variant covers per comic. They need to do 2, and then leave it at 2. Just stop. And yes, it means the money is going to go down, but this is healthy for the industry. It's healthy for everyone. It's healthy for the independents. See, Marvel and DC, for everything else, they are propped up, financially backed by Disney, by Warner Media, and they do not need to make the profit they're making. Now, Marvel and DC are profitable, but they're part of a business that is not necessarily looking for them to be a cash-loaded business. They're looking for licensing revenue. They're looking for IP to put into movies. They're looking for comics to serve as marketing. If suddenly Marvel said, "Look, one of the things we're going to do to try and increase the health of the industry is we're going to cut our variants in half. We're going to do half as less or we're going to do half as many as we did before. And it's going to mean a 10% reduction in the amount of money we make." Because it would absolutely hurt them financially, but it wouldn't be severe, especially if they took it slow. And comic shops could acclimate if they took it slow. There's only one problem, is Marvel and DC are not motivated to do this, because if they did, it would give some breathing room to the independents. It would give the retailers a chance to better market what they have. It would allow everyone to do better in comics. And the reality is Marvel and DC, in particular their management, their leadership, they're not looking for everyone to do well. The people at Dan Buckley and Jim Lee and Reed Javin, they're not waking up in the morning. C.B. Cebulski, David Gabriel, they are not waking up in the morning thinking, how can I have a more sustainable comic business that gives breathing room to people like, Aftershock? Maybe Aftershock going bankrupt is bad for us, bad for Marvel. Because what it's doing is it's creating at least a perception that the industry is struggling. So, rather than kind of pedal to the metal with all these variants, we're actually, harming comics, because but basically what happens at the retail level is that you do not have the breathing room to look into the independents, to look into, anything beyond kind of what you're addicted to in new comics. And by and large, that's your whales that come in and your variants. Now, here's the long-term way of looking at this. If Marvel and DC pulled back, basically said, "Look, we're propped up by our corporate overlords. We can do fine either way. So why don't we just take a step back, not throw out all these comics. Yes, we're going to hurt a little bit, financially, but it will give a lot of the independents a chance to get better. Now, none of them are going to overtake us. They're nowhere remotely in the universe if us stepping back from variants is going to give them an opening to become the number one and number two publisher. We still are very much entrenched in our spot. We've got 60 plus years of corporate comics and IP that everyone knows around the world backing us up. So we'll be fine. But if we allow the rest of the industry to be healthier, allow the Mad Caves and Booms and Dynamites and Scouts and all these other companies, if we give them a little bit more of the pie, well, their business will strengthen. And if their business strengthens, they're going to recruit talent. These companies become a much better feeding ground for us. If you take the long-term view, selfishly, a healthier Boom, IDW, Red 5, all these other companies, a Vault, a healthier, smaller groups create better feeder talent for the big two. Right now, Marvel, look at the titles they're producing in May. Jed MacKay is on a lot. Al Ewing is on things. Kieran Gillen is on things. It starts to get scary after that point in terms of the talent they have in-house. Now, I'm enjoying some of this because it means that there's breathing room for the Peter Davids and McElhaney's and Innocentes and Claremonts and others that are now getting some work because they just need people to do this stuff. But Marvel's in a scary position if you look at the talent. Well, one way to improve that is to give at least a little back to the smaller comic companies so they can, mature and generate some of that talent that will one day be the multi-billion-dollar stories that you'll maximize on. But that they need to back off. So that's kind of down the rabbit hole. Look, variant covers don't need to go away completely. They just need to go away from the, quite frankly, the overuse, the addiction that it is now. It's one of those things that you can't go cold turkey on it. That would cause absolute chaos at the comic shops and at the publishers. But if you just started backing off, if you're thinking, should I do 3 covers or 4 covers? How about 2? Just stay with 2. And just try that for a little while. If the comic publishers can do that, it's going to create a healthier industry. It creates a healthier industry. It means some of the little guys are going to be a little bit more financially stable. They're going to give a little bit better checks to creators. They're going to be able to basically, proof and mature some talent that will one day make its way to Marvel and DC and create good stories. I think the chain of events is critical that they start backing off this variant scheme. Because right now it's, the covers are getting dumber and dumber. You're doing a photo no prize variant cover. You're doing spider versions of Thor. It's like, it is a mess, an absolute colossal mess. And this is not sustainable. The problem is not only is this hurting the little companies, it's hurting Marvel and DC as well. They are burning through all the goodwill. And I do think it's like the housing market and other speculator bubbles that build up. I think when this thing pops, it will pop fast. I think it will be, I said earlier, you can't go cold turkey on this. Well, the market's going to go cold turkey for you. The speculator market's going to disappear over the course of 3 months. And it's going to wreck comic stores and the publishers. And look, I think Disney to Warner Media, if you said we're going to do 10% lower revenue because we're really going to focus on quality, putting out good product, helping stabilize this business, I think, the Disneys and Warner Medias would be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Do that. If you show up one day and say, hey, our variant cover scheme collapsed out from under us and we're coming in at actually 40% of our revenue target, that's where everybody gets fired. So take the pain now. That's what I should do. Anyway, thank you very much for the mail. I'm curious, what do you think? How do the publishers back away from the variant scheme that they're in? How do they make it healthier for themselves? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course, and thanks for listening.